Hello and welcome to the morning sports briefing on Wednesday, the 10th of June. That's right, we come to you at 7 a.m. every single morning here on New Zealand Sports Radio, bringing your best way to start the day up to date with all the important sports news. And today in the news, a new format for Champions League knockouts. It's official, no spit and polish. Former Tamaki College first 15 making waves in the NRL. Warriors team named, mega crowds expected, and more. NBL news as well. So good morning and welcome to all of that. We'll kick off straight away with that football news. And over in the Champions League, we've got down to the quarterfinals stage in the Champions League. The idea was, or the old format was going to be home and away ties for the quarterfinals, but they're looking now at having a mini tournament in Istanbul. Moving it from Istanbul to Lisbon in Portugal, and having a mini tournament there. For the Europa League final, which was supposed to be held in Gdansk, Poland, they're looking at moving that to Germany and having that moved as well. We're looking at having a decision on the 17th of June, and it looked like it would be a straight knockout form competition rather than the quarterfinals, semi-finals, home and aways, and then a final. So keep an eye out for that. We expect obviously hit so 17th of June. That means we'll hear probably the middle of next week as to what format that will actually take place. The Portuguese Premier League resumed on the 3rd of June, so they're already playing there. And as we all know, they're already playing the Bundesliga, which restarted on the 16th of May. So both those countries have got active football at the moment, and so could host a tournament. That brings you also in football. Brazil have pulled out of the bidding for the Women's Football World Cup. The coronavirus has been part of it, but that's a combination of factors. Brazil, obviously, at the moment having a big issue with coronavirus, but so they've pulled out. They're now bidding for that 2023 Women's Rugby World Cup. They have said that they're going to put their support now behind Colombia, who is also bidding. Other countries are bidding for that are Japan, and then the joint bid from Australia and New Zealand for that in 2023. There is some thought that because New Zealand and Australia have handled the coronavirus relatively well, it has given them a better boost in this bid. Now I'm going to hand you over to Ashwin, who will take us through our cricket news.
Good morning, Paul, and good morning to our viewers and listeners out there in the interweb. And as mentioned in the headlines, no, it's official, no spit and polish. And although Hugh was saying that sounds a bit dodgy, nothing dodgy. It's just on the ball only. That's the cricket ball, that is. ICC has banned the use of saliva to shine the cricket ball in aid of getting swing. Whilst that has met with opposition, the ICC has continued with the move, and umpires will be lenient with the sort of initial phases as people sort of still get out of the habit of doing it, but they will come down on serial offenders. Teams will be warned twice before being handed a 5-run penalty to the batting team. If there is any saliva applied to the ball, intentionally or not, the umpires will disinfect the ball immediately before another ball is bowled. So I can imagine them getting out their polishing cloth and their lemon pledge and cleaning up and disinfecting the ball. Also coming out of the COVID sort of rules that they've sort of brought in, there will be no neutral umpires in tests for the first time since 2002. Matches will be controlled by home umpires from the international panels list. However, to allow for this fact, there will be now 3 reviews per innings in a test match and 2 reviews per innings in any white ball formats. Also, more COVID-related decisions being made by the ICC. The substitution rule has also been ratified, but only for test matches. Now, should a player show any signs of COVID-19, they will be replaced by a like-for-like player, basically as per the same rules for the concussion rule. Too many rules in there, eh? Also, rules have been relaxed around the signage on shirts, specifically around the size and placement. A move will allow for more sponsorship whilst there are no ticket sales for the matches. In saying that, the ECB are in discussions with the UK government to have the NHS logo on the shirts as a tribute to all the frontline staff that have obviously put in a big shift during the pandemic. And sort of in non-COVID, but still related to COVID ICC news, the ICC will be meeting today, in New Zealand time that is, to decide the fate of this year's T20 World Cup, the men's version. This was due to be held in Australia towards the end of this year, and we will endeavour to bring you the latest on that news tomorrow morning on the morning sports briefing once we know what that decision is. And so to wrap things up, we'll join myself and Taz Sati along with Rohit and Taryn tomorrow night on Swinging from the Hip, and we'll discuss all these new ratified rules before we get into the leg spinning masterclass. And that's right here on New Zealand Sport Radio with Swinging from the Hip, and that's our cricket news for today, Paul.
Thank you very much, Ashwin, for our updates. And I'm going to hand you now over to Stephen, who's going to take us through our birthdays.
Thank you, Paul, and good morning, everybody, to what is a very chilly morning. I am wearing the mittens this morning. There'll be probably people down the South Island, they say, harden up, Steve. But it'll be anything but that for our birthday recipients today. Destined to go fast from a young age, an injury-plagued Samoan rugby player, and finally, the son of an Auckland rugby locking great, and that's where we start this morning. William Wetton, born this day, the 10th of June 1989, is a New Zealand rugby union player. He currently plays at number 8 for Carsters in the top 14. He is the son of ex-All Black lock Gary Wetton, and his brother Jack is also a professional rugby player. Wetton, who turns 31 today, has also represented both Northland and North Harbour in provincial rugby. Staying with the oval ball game, Tony Kunwaiu, born this day, the 10th of June 1983 in Samoa, is a rugby union footballer who played at wing, centre and fullback. After a great season in 2003 NPC for Auckland, he was drafted by the Crusaders for the 2004 Super 12. His debut was against the New South Wales Waratahs, where he went on to play 7 games that season. In 2004, Kunwaiu was contracted to play for the Blues, but a severe injury halted his rugby future. In 2008, Kunwaiu signed with Southland, but another injury sidelined him for the whole 2008 Air New Zealand Cup. Kunwaiu, who turns 37 today, made his debut off the bench 1st of August 2009 for the Stags v Waikato. Finally, Scott McLaughlin, born this day, the 10th of June 1993, is a New Zealand professional racing driver competing in the Virgin Australian Supercars Championship. He currently drives the number 17 Ford Mustang GT for DJR Team Penske. He is the 2018 and 2019 Series champion and 2019 Bathurst 1000 winner. McLaughlin won his first race in the New Zealand Touring Car Series in early 2011, becoming the youngest ever driver to win a race in the championship at 17 years old. Then in 2012, he competed in the New Zealand V8 Super Tourers Championship and became the inaugural series champion, beg your pardon. McLaughlin, who celebrates his 27th birthday today, achieved his first supercar race win during his first full-time season with Gary Rogers Motorsport in 2013 at Pukekohe Raceway. He is the youngest person to ever win in a supercar. Almost seems like he's been around forever, but we've got to remember, he only started when he was 17 years old. And that's our birthdays today. I'll be back with a whole bumper edition of League.
Thank you very much, Stephen. And let's hope he doesn't eat too much cake and and put too much weight on to slow down his car going forwards. In Super Rugby, yes, we are back this weekend, and they are expecting to have bumper mega crowds this weekend. The Blues are tipping to get towards 35,000 people in at Eden Park, and the Highlanders are hoping for 20,000 down there in Forsyth Bar Stadium, or the Lunchbox, as it's fondly known as. So expect, so big crowds this weekend. It's going to be very much in contrast to watching the NRL, I guess. A couple of players are dubious about whether they'll make the opening round. It looks like Sam Cane has got a sore back, and so won't be suiting up for the Chiefs. Also, Geordie Barrett is reported as potentially having a slight injury as well, so maybe not available for the Hurricanes. But he was seen running or jogging around and chipping a ball. So we'll see whether that was just a bit of news to keep the media going, or whether he really has got an injury. Myself and Shane will be previewing the games on Friday at 8 p.m. here on New Zealand Sports Radio. So do dial in for that. We may also have a guest appearance from Steve from the Deep South as well, Cornflake himself. So hopefully we'll have all that on Friday evening at 8 p.m. Also, there are question marks as to whether the people over the ditch in Australia will be able to watch the games. At the moment, Fox has not announced whether they are going to be showing the game or not. Yes, here we are, only a couple of days away from kickoff, and already, and they haven't sorted out the broadcast rights for Australia yet. Big shame there. Now I'm going to hand you back to Stephen, who has got, as he says, a bumper NRL update for us.
But Paul, that we have. Now, we're a little bit different this morning because our first story is about a former Tamaki College First 15 rugby player who's turning heads in the NRL. Growing up without a TV in remote Tongan village, Warriors rookie sensation Eliesa Katoa had never watched an NRL game until he moved to New Zealand as a teenager. In fact, there was only one person in his village who did have one, so he would often ask if he could stay over at the weekend and watch live sport, but it was never rugby league. I'll be honest, I never imagined myself playing league, Katoa said. I always thought I'd be playing for the All Blacks or the Wallabies, but in the back of my mind, then it was just to help my family out. By the time I had to switch to league, I thought that's my next call for me to play NRL, and I've achieved that. But I didn't watch the NRL at all back home. I always watched a Super Rugby. It's not much different, union and league. All you need to do is do your job, and that's run the ball and tackle hard, and that's it. But Katoa admitted he's still learning the ropes in the 13-man code after catching the Warriors' attention while playing for the Tamaki College First 15 in 2018. Katoa is still coming to terms with his meteoric rise, but he said his family back in Tonga are oblivious to his newfound stardom. Without a TV, they have been unable to watch any of his games, and Katoa said they cannot fully comprehend the magnitude of his achievements. Meanwhile, Warriors coach Stephen Kearney has dropped Isaiah Papali for the Warriors round 5 match against the Cowboys on a Friday night. With Papali out, Adam Blair moves from prop to lock, and Lachlan Burr returns from a headlock to take Blair's place up front. It is the only change to the starting side that was beaten 26-0 by the Panthers last week. Ignatius Apasi suspended, Peter Hiku rib injury, both missed the Panthers' loss, but have been named on the extended reserves bench. The Warriors may face Jason Taumalolo, arguably the best player in the NRL, with the former Kiwis enforcer named on the Cowboys' extended bench. Taumalolo, who now represents Mate Matonga, missed the Cowboys' loss to the Sharks with a knee injury at the weekend, but his inclusion on the extended bench points to a late inclusion. That full Warriors team, Tuivasa Sheck, Patrick Herbert, Hayes Perman, Gerard Beale, Adam Pompey, Cody Nikorima, Blake Green, Jermaine Tonoa Brown, Wade Egan, Lachlan Burr, Eliesa Katoa, Tohu Harris, Adam Blair. The interchange is Carl Lawton, Puasa Famusili, King Vuni Yayawa, Jack Murchie, Ignatius Pasi, Peter Hiku, Isaiah Papali, and Chanel Harris Tavita. And our final story this morning, well, I guess it is the NRL and anything is possible. After a shock loss to the Gold Coast in round 4, West Tigers coach Michael Maguire has sensationally dropped the experienced Benji Marshall as part of a mass changes for the Saturday NRL clash with Canberra. And in another surprise, Josh Reynolds has been named to replace Marshall in the Tigers' halves a day after failing a roadside drug test. former New South Wales star Reynolds returned a positive result to a random drug test after flying back to Sydney with the Tigers following the Titans' upset in Brisbane. He was pulled over by police on Monday morning while driving home. Can only assume that was the next morning after the game. But the Tigers said another test at Sutherland Police Station came back negative before being sent for further analysis. Maguire threatened to wield the axe after the Titans snapped the 14-game losing streak with the 28-23 boil-over, saying he was sick and tired of his team's inconsistency and questioning his players' character. But it was still a surprise to see Marshall relegated to an extended bench on Tuesday as part of 6 changes. In what may be his final NRL season, the 35-year-old kicked what appeared to be the match-winning field goal against the Titans, only for the host to score a last-gasp try to seal the upset. Now, more on league this evening. If you tune into both Brad and, of course, Sanjay, they'll pretty much rule their thumb or rule the ruler over all the games that happened on the weekend. Should be quite interesting. And just before I let you go, I've posted my email address somewhere on the New Zealand Sport Radio website. Up behind me, got a whole lot of jerseys. Get in touch with me. Tell me a little bit about your club. Maybe we can even post your jersey up behind me as we get into a lot of our local sport this season, Paul.
Absolutely. But Stephen, I think you mean the Facebook page rather than website, don't you? Is where you
sorry. Yeah. Beg your pardon. That is correct. On the Facebook page, you'll just reach out to me and let me know. And one of the guys actually watching who will be hosting tonight's show is Sanjay Govind, obviously up nice and early with those that young family of his. Great to have you on board, Sanjay. And everybody, have a great day. I got to go.
Stephen's going to go and do his day job. And moving on then to other news, a sport that we perhaps don't celebrate enough here in New Zealand is softball. I was unaware that New Zealand were world champions in 2004, 2013 and 2017. They missed out in 2019 and they'll be hosting the World Cup here over here in New Zealand in Auckland. And they've named a new captain who will be captaining the side for that when that does take place. Young shortstop Cole Evans, who is only 22, is going to be has been named the new captain. He comes from a long line of softballers. His granddad, Stu Kinghorn, represented New Zealand in 1970 against an American team. His auntie Jan also represented New Zealand women's in the 80s, and Evans' father Clive was a long-time Ramblers and Auckland player and represented Great Britain at the World Championship level in softball. So it comes from a big softballing family. We say congratulations to Cole Evans, who has been named the Black Sox captain for the next tournament. Moving on to basketball, and don't forget that tomorrow evening from 5 o'clock we'll be having the NZ NBL draft. I am in that draft. There is a chance that this is my last chance at 45 of becoming a professional sports player. I must admit, I do not rate my chances very highly, but do dial in. Broadcast details have been made available. Sky Sports 3 is the channel to watch the draft, the initial part of the draft in, but it will also be available on the Tribe Sports app and other places as well. They will be announcing the order of the draft today. So look out for that news. Obviously, you can follow the NZNBL on all of the socials. Also, Isaac Fotu had been hoped that he would stay in New Zealand and perhaps play a season for the NZ Breakers. He has been training at their facilities in Auckland, but he has re-signed for Italy's Reina Vicenza for the season instead. It was always acknowledged that he would have to take a big pay cut if he was to stay here in New Zealand. He's decided to head back to Europe and play instead, which obviously is a shame for the Breakers. And the Breakers still have 5 local players signed for 2021. in Tom Abercrombie, Abercrombie, sorry, Rob Lowe, Finn Delaney, Jared Weeks, and Corey Webster. And obviously they'll have to reset their goals as to filling out the rest of the roster. You have started the day the best way, up to date with the important sports news. Have a great day, everybody. And don't forget, this evening at 8 p.m, we have our league show with Brad and Sanjay. So do join us for that. Like our Facebook page, New Zealand Sports Radio. You can listen on the go as well. So search for New Zealand Sports Radio on your favourite podcatcher. And do share the videos with your friends to help support the station.